didn't see you there. Welcome to another episode of
Excellent.
Welcome to another episode of the Generic Anime Podcast. And we like to do a little intro here and there, But today I'm the host of the episode, Animate, and to help me with this beautiful theme is Consumer. But before we jump onto the meat of this episode, I wanted to ask you guys, how you all doing?
Pretty good.
Great. Pretty good.
Is there like...
Having a very busy
Nice,
Saturday,
nice.
but other than that, I'm doing very good.
I ran out of hay fever medicine, so let's go. I got
Me,
everything
I'm
closed.
prepping for uni.
Well, as you all might have guessed by the beautiful book that I had in my hands earlier, in today's video, we're going to be talking about manga. And I did prepare some questions for the argument. If you
I love the fact that you're
we
I love the
can
fact that
already
you're saying
start.
that this is going to be an argument.
There will. It's inevitable.
will.
Fight.
It's inevitable.
This is an episode of Generic Anime Podcast. It's gonna be an argument.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's gonna. It's good there. Well, I'm gonna start with the most basic question ever. That is, what is your favorite manga?
Nice.
I got one.
Weirdly, I
one
think my
sec.
favorite manga might be different from my favorite anime. Like the a manga for
Yes,
Golden
yes.
Kamuy is really good, but I think in the manga department, it's either gonna have to be Grand Blue or JoJo's.
My favorite manga is.
Vagabond gets really close, but
Oh, that's enough. These ones, Konosuba.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah, I got 6. And guys, this is time for me to plug my video because in exactly a week from this episode dropping, I'm dropping my entire manga collection video. It's over $1,000 worth of
dropping your entire
manga.
manga collection out the window.
Woo!
I've got one volume of Golden Kamuy here.
Look
So
forward
watch
to
the
that.
video.
I got one.
Right, I'm
one
also
Golden
gonna do
Kamuy.
a speedy break.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
Please do so.
Konosuba and Komi Can't Communicate. Those are my two favorites. Komi
Yeah, I
Can't Communicate
noticed
was the
like
first.
in the photo that you stand us that you had a lot of mangas of Komi.
I have 29 volumes of Komi Can't Communicate. And I'm trying to
Jeez,
pre-order
why? Do you
I've-
own all of them?
nearly all of the ones that are translated to English. Yes. I'm trying to get up.
By the-
I'm just trying to get all of them at this point.
This
like
Japanese
she's-
one's forehead.
Oh god, lag again.
She's
What the
so
fuck?
me, he says.
Yeah.
Speedy
is
can't
lagging.
communicate.
Oh boy.
Speedy can't
lagging a little bit.
communicate.
Just like me for real.
What the fuck has happened to the internet?
Oh, sugar. It's falling.
But
My
I'd have to probably
favorite
say
manga.
mine's
My
probably
favorite.
Is everybody
Yeah,
lagging or is
manga.
it just
I'm not talking
me?
about JoJo's. Just you.
It's just you. It's
Okay.
definitely just you.
Okay, I should probably stop recording then, just so we don't get more lagged footage.
Just give us
Okay.
a countdown.
Now it's recording. Okay. Ready when you are, boss.
All right. So first question, I wanted to start with a very basic one. So what is your favorite manga?
Homie can't communicate.
Deep silence descends.
I thought he said homie can't communicate. I was like, okay.
Oh, Kobe.
That's a new manga.
Kobe can't communicate. Konosuba.
Ooh,
Brother
God.
Kane, prepare.
I don't know why, but that doesn't surprise me. So
Yeah, no.
I've got my friend to start watching Combatants Will Be Dispatched, which I think is actually written by the same guy who wrote Konosuba.
That's pretty cool.
nice.
It's a fucking funny one.
Yeah, my favorite manga, unfortunately, Golden Kamuy falls from the top spot because I think the Grand Blue manga is actually better than Golden Kamuy. Also, JoJo's manga is just
Really
fucking
good.
chef's kiss.
I do actually have.
Yeah,
part
Vagabond
4
is
volume myself.
Vagabond is one that would also makes the list for me for like the top 3.
This guy's
I'd have to put
insane
I'd have to put
tards.
Vagabond over Finland Saga because Vagabond is just great.
It's
Part of
pretty
me
cool.
wishes that Vagabond one day gets an anime adaptation, but there's always the risk that it ends up like Berserk.
Yeah.
Have you,
Oh,
have you
Kingdom
guys read
Kingdoms.
the manga for Evangelion?
No.
I've heard it's weird, but no.
Like,
Yeah, I've heard it's
different
weird, but I
ending.
haven't read it.
I saw this video. This woman, she said she really liked Evangelion so much so that she went to read the Bible afterwards because of all the biblical
Oh, I think
references.
I've
Yeah,
seen
it
I saw
is
that.
like
And
apparently
she
the
practiced
manga is like
Christian.
so much more biblical than the anime.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
all right.
So does that mean the Bible counts as a manga?
No.
Yes.
Well, technically,
No, wait, the
technically,
the
there
manga-
is a
the-
manga about the Bible.
The Bible is a light novel.
Oh my
There's nothing fucking light about
Oh
it.
god. It's just
oh
heavy
my
novel.
god.
Consumer getting a massive haul of manga. What is it?
All right.
Ooh, look at
Wanna know
look
my
at the
favorite one?
games.
This. Can you see it?
Oh yeah,
yes.
One Piece. I have a couple of One Piece ones as well, but
It's
they're terrible Finnish
only-
translations.
Manga that
I bought
own.
the first volume of One Piece ages ago and I sold it because I got bored of it.
Same, and that leads me up to something I want to talk about. You might
Is it
notice
the
that this
first volume,
volume
like,
is very special looking. For example,
Ooh,
it
isn't
has
that like the first
cover.
edition one?
yeah. Want to know why it's
Those
in
are
this cover?
Stupid expensives.
Because I stole this from school.
You thief! You thief!
This
So, yes.
guy. Fuck.
He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong.
He did the death sentence. He deserves a death sentence
Hey,
for that
what
one.
can I do, man? I graduated. I can't be walking into
He
schools.
saved that volume. Nah, no, for real.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, he
if,
saved it.
It would
He
be
saved
loved
it.
by me. But that is my
Yeah,
favorite
God
manga.
damn it.
What about you, anime? What's your favorite manga?
Well, as much as people would be inclined to think that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, by the fact that I
Is it Fate?
talk a lot about it. No, it's my favorite manga is Berserk, and
Okay.
I was telling you the story on how I almost started the manga, you know, in 2014 when I was like at the beginning of my manga journey, but I actually read it like in 2022 for the first actually read it, and it was like one of these mangas that I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, and till this day, like. Everything from the storytelling, the arting, the art, the character journey of Guts is one of my favorite in all of the media. In fact, quick 3D. I don't think I'm gonna be able to show it here, but I have the brand of sacrifice tattooed.
Oh,
That's
Really?
crazy.
That's
and I-
cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna send the photo later in the group chat, but.
I have a confession. I've never read Berserk.
Oh.
I've been meaning to read it, but I've been reading Vagabond and Vinland Saga and Kingdom, and Berserk is like the fourth one in that big group of seinen manga, but I've just never gone around to it.
Well, I've got the first
No, yeah,
three manga,
the
and I
same
read
thing
2 of
happened
them on
to
the
me,
plane to
kinda.
Malta.
Like for years I've put it like in a pedestal, trying to, you know, I'm gonna read it one day, and then unfortunately the passing of Kentaro Miura happened,
Yeah.
and it kind of was like the trigger. Like I remember I started reading it like on the second anniversary or the first anniversary of his death, and I was like, no, I'm enjoying this too much, and I know that there's not gonna be an end to that because that was before like they announced it that they were gonna continue the manga and
Yeah.
everything.
Has
But
the
it
continuation
was-
started already?
Yes, but they are on a hiatus right now. So
Okay. Is it any good? Like, is it Kentaro Miura levels of good,
Yeah,
or is it?
I would say like the art is very similar. There, of course, you can notice that like it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the author that is doing the art and the story right now was a big friend of Miura, so he knows
Yeah.
how Miura wanted the story to end. So he's just
Okay.
gonna basically do what Kentaro would have done. So
Okay. Yeah.
For me personally,
it's-
I quite liked where the manga left off, to be honest. Like, it wasn't like a conclusive ending in terms of the plot, but I feel like for the characters, there were sort of like 3 main characters in Berserk, and it was sort of them like reuniting again, and it was like a little bit of like a cathartic moment, and I thought it wasn't a bad
Yeah.
place to end off of. So me personally, I've not even touched the new stuff.
yeah, I understand why people like wouldn't want to, you know, do it because there's always like that thing, that idea that they're not doing this to honor the legacy of the author, or
Yeah.
you know, it's the story could have ended there. But in this particularly case, I would say that I'm on board with that for now. So let's see how they're gonna bring the rest of the story in.
Yeah, because like
And
I do get the whole thing of like he died, so maybe we should leave it alone. Because the other side
Yeah.
of that leaf is something like Amazon's Rings of Power that just butchering anything
Yes.
Tolkien ever stood for.
It's it's very like quick tangent because I know that we can lose too much time. It's it's kind of strange, you know, when we're talking about like these properties that are not physical, that are like
Yeah.
because you know you don't know exactly what the author would have done or would have wanted.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do, like with let's say writers like Alan Moore and stuff like that. But in the act of, you know, someone that really how can I say it, basically dedicated his whole life to this story.
Yeah.
Like it's I think a part of me would want his final work to be out there, so that you know him, so that the thing that he basically, I don't want to say sacrifice his life for it, but the thing that he basically gave his life to would be completed. But
Yeah.
then again, let's say, what if the producers don't like what he's cooking, and then he's like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, let's do something else. Let's change everything up and fuck up the whole story.
Yeah, like it's fine if there's like, for example, going back to my Tolkien analogy, because they released two of his like unfinished stories were then finally compiled into like full-on books,
Yeah.
which is like, I think that's cool. But the moment when you go like, nah, we want to change what this guy made and still like use his IP, then it's kind of like, why?
Yeah.
It's quite a similar thing to Dune, actually, because I
Yeah.
think the Dune books written by Frank Herbert, there's maybe 6, 7 of them, and there was meant to be either 1 or 2 more books that would finish the entire series, but he died before he could release it. And what ended up happening was his son was the one who ended up finishing the series based on his like manuscript or whatever. But there's a
Yeah.
very distinct like change in like storytelling from where his son started writing it and where he stopped. And on top of that, his son also went up to write a lot of extra works, like to flesh out the world, which were completely just based on his own ideas. And those works feel very separate from the
Yeah.
mainline Dune stuff. So I guess like that's just like to show maybe even if it's like someone who's close to the person or someone who knows them
Yeah.
well, it's not a guarantee even
Yeah.
that like it'll be up to like the original.
Like that's the reason why things like Tolkien's works, especially, like it took so long to get anything else other than like Silmarillion is just a collection of Tolkien's notes, and then there's the one called the Unfinished Tales, which is the same thing, and like it was, I think I want to say like 40 years. It's not quite that long, but it's a couple of decades until they compiled. Like there are 2 almost finished stories in the Silmarillion that they then compiled into the Húrin's Children and the Fall of Gondolin. And even those, like, there are still segments that kind of feel like this is different
yeah.
from Tolkien's own work,
Yeah.
like the stuff he actually finished.
But to, you know, to try to keep the conversation
Yeah,
going, because
more manga.
like if we I'm gonna go back to one of the points that I've mentioned about Berserk, and which is the art. No, wait, hold on. I'm getting ahead with the question. Hold on.
Whereas, like, let me jump to question 4.
Yes.
Well,
Viewers can't see the question, so you're free to jump.
talk about let's go back to mangas and everything. Like of course all of us have, like, I would say a very different how can I say approach on how to on what we like to read, and you know,
Yeah.
our favorite genres and stuff like that. So I would like to ask you guys, like, how do you pick a manga to read? Like what is the factors that makes you watch something,
That's a good
let's
question.
say JoJo, and be like, oh, I like it? Is it the art, the storytelling? Maybe it's because you like that specific author because he has already done something.
Yeah.
Like, what calls your attention in that moment?
It kind of depends. Like, I'm a huge fan of historical seinens, and like I will read most things that are historical seinens. But on the other hand, there are certain authors, like I read Chainsaw Man, and then like Tatsuki Fujimoto stuff was like I want to read
Yes.
more of his things. But then there's things like JoJo, which I tried to read JoJo several times, and I just never got past Phantom Blood. And then one day I was like, I'm gonna read this now. And then I just read JoJo's, and I think it took me until like Diamond is Unbreakable when it like finally clicked. Like, oh my
Yes.
god, this is great. And then I reread the whole thing, and I feel like I had that like million IQ brain explosion. Oh my god, I actually understand this kind of moment.
Yes.
But to be fair, the thing with JoJo, you know, the whole power scale of JoJo is very hard to understand
Oh, yeah.
in manga format. So
Yeah. I feel like the anime does a better job of explaining some
Yes.
things, but at the same time, it also loses some of the elements that make JoJo what JoJo's is.
yes.
What about you,
What you
Speedy?
consume? Oh, Speedy.
Oh shit! What was the question?
What makes you choose a manga?
Honestly, I don't know. I kind of just pick up random stuff like half the time. Mostly, I just go off the front cover. It's like, oh, that looks cool, and I read it. And if I find
Big
it,
titties on the
fascinating-
cover.
Okay.
You can't even
Yeah.
deny
I
it.
can't even deny it.
Hey, fair. To be honest, that's understandable. That's
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I read like my collection is kind of like random. Like there is a lot of Shonen Jump stuff, like Spy Family, One Punch Man. There was Chainsaw Man, but I got rid of it all. But it's kind of just like I read whatever like intrigues me. Like I got up there, I got K-On! Click If I got Golden Kamuy, Look Back as well, Botch the Rock. There's Rooster Fighter. It's just like it. How can I explain it? It's just something that does something. If it does something different or parody something, that's kind of what I like the most. It's like something that takes a complete left turn to what everything else is doing in said genre. Like, I like reading a lot of isekai, but they all kind of like just similar, and they don't really do
It's
much.
not true.
different.
Don't
Like,
believe him. It's not true.
There you go,
it's
Isekai
like,
slander.
Some of
once
them,
again. It
some of them, like I mean, I love isekai, but like a lot of them are quite cut and paste, copy and paste kind of thing. Like the ones that I like the most, like Saga of Tiny Evil, Konosuba. There was another one that I just forgot the name of. Great, but like those ones, they do something take the regular isekai thing and do something completely different. Whether that be throwing the story into World War One,
Yes.
or just being Konosuba.
Mm.
Like, I like it. when-
Konosuba
the
is
way-
just a parody.
You would say it's
Yeah,
more
it twists.
the factor of the change in expectations that these stories
Yeah.
brings.
Yeah.
That claims
Example,
your
I think
attention.
my favorite example. This is Rooster Fighter. Like,
Mm.
it's just a parody of every shonen. I found it too funny because I've read a lot. I have read a lot of shonen. I get a lot of the jokes. I find it quite funny. I think now that I think about it, it's just stuff that I find funny.
I actually feel like, now that it mentions shonen, I feel like modern battle shonen manga is like mostly very boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of modern battle shonen, like Consumer and I, we had a discussion about this in
Yeah.
the Discord about the whole like old shonen is like there is other things than the fights, and modern shonen has kind of moved into this like hype
Yeah,
of
I
the
do
fights, and
agree
I don't
there.
think that translates that well in the manga format.
Yes.
Like, I feel like a lot of modern shonen is made to be made into anime rather than being enjoyed as manga.
Mm-hmm. Sort of the
I
like
find recommend
Sakuga.
it.
There is definitely some like some big truths there because what you said like is I was doing some research and that's basically what happens a lot of time like I think it's producers like the ones that they aid the mangakas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, like the
Nowadays
editors.
it's more about it's not about the originality, but it's more about we need to create something that can be popular,
Yeah,
We
it's
take,
the
like,
marketability of something.
Yes. Something that has potential, but then we have to structure it so that it can become like this gigantic thing,
Yeah.
like Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, and stuff like that.
I can't remember who it was, but there was like a whole thing of like there's something very different about a good story and an easily marketable story, and like companies are far more keen on taking stories that
Yes.
they can easily make money off of because it is a business.
True.
Fair.
What about you,
Um,
consumer?
I feel like mine is probably like a mixture of the stuff that's been said. Up until recently, I probably was just like Speedy. I would just pick whatever looked cool. So that would mainly just be based off of covers, I would think. But recently, I just find that looking at artists or just any figures in manga that I think are quite interesting is just the best way just to find works that are interesting to me. Or even as Chi said, you can also go into just genres. Like I know when I was first getting into isekai, I would literally go on like Anime Planet and just everything that was tagged with isekai there and had a cool looking cover. I was like, save, and I just read through literally everything. But I think it's just
Nice.
go
Well, actually,
wherever you feel, you know,
Yeah.
wherever the wind takes you.
I realized one thing we didn't mention is that I sometimes do read, like, for example, Grand Blue. I read it after I watched the anime. I was like, fuck, I want more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's what I did
Yeah.
with like Chainsaw Man as
Yeah.
well. And
Anime,
Horror
like a lot of times the anime, but if I recall correctly, like I was doing a research and like the main goal of the anime is to do publicity to the manga.
Yeah.
Like the main sales come from the manga, so the anime is just like a visit card, you know, something that
yeah.
you give to people to make it look like you are professional and everything, and then you get them with the story of the manga.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the difference between us here in the Western world and Japan, because obviously here you don't really see people marketing manga. Like every marketing goes towards the anime, and then people use the anime, but like people who aren't like hardcore fans more commonly use the anime to
Yes.
then find the manga, and then they're like, oh my god, this is actually great. But when I was visiting Japan, it's like manga ads everywhere.
Mm.
And like there was a bookstore that was like they were showing, I think it was Gate that they were showing like in front of the book, and like behind that there was like a massive shelf of all of the Gate manga. Like, oh look at this, this is what it looks like, but it's like very easy to market that, so you see like JSD
Yeah.
of shoulders soldiers shooting missiles at dragons, and then there's buy this manga, this is what it offers.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Have
Go on.
okay, so have you ever like tried to look for a manga that like has not been like what's the word I'm thinking? So you can't find this particular manga anywhere, but you really want to read it, and you just cannot find it anywhere on the internet, even physical. Have you ever had that experience?
Yes.
Oh, that happens more than more than I'd want to, because
Yes.
sometimes you just like I'm gonna do a quick example with a manga that I was trying to read recently, that is called Grimace. It's basically like the concept of this manga is it's a horror manga where basically like there's this whole apartment thing where everyone lives, and like the landlord is this kind of entity that if you don't smile when you are next to him and you don't do everything that he tells you to do, he's gonna kill you and your family. And then people like starts to act like, you know, they're always like, oh, how you. But then he starts to, you know, ask for very, you know, very questionable stuff, and some people refuse, and then he starts killing. And unfortunately, there are only like 6 chapters translated in
Yeah.
That's
English.
a cool concept
So-
though.
Yo,
Yeah.
it's very. But I was doing some research about it, and unfortunately, it got cancelled because not a lot of people was. But I think that there are like 25 chapters in total, but only 6 of them are translated.
Yeah.
But
How many Hongo Jozu?
yeah,
Exactly.
unfortunately,
That's all we have to learn.
I need to focus on Duolingo because
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a version that has furikana, it shouldn't be too hard. But like trying to learn the kanji might be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
When I was doing my research for a bunch of the car manga videos, I was looking for another one to review, and there was this one about Subaru and rallying, and that looked really interesting. So I started
Subaru?
looking for it on like Subaru, isn't the car brand.
Oh, I thought you meant ReZero guy.
ReZero.
No, fuck that guy. But like, it was about when I think it was about when Subaru like entered Group A rally and started getting really successful with the Impreza WRX. And I really wanted to read it because I love rally cars. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and find this. I look on the internet, I look on eBay as well, see if I can find any physical manga of it. I looked on every single manga website possible, nothing, 0. And I went to Reddit. Has anybody found this? And they're like, no, we can't find it. Nobody can find it anyway. I was like, oh, shit.
yeah, unfortunately,
I even asked my cousin who was in Japan for a couple of weeks if they could go to a bookstore, see if they can find it. And yeah, they didn't get anything.
I feel like it's rarer to run into something you just can't find, and it's far more common to find stuff that just hasn't been translated.
yes.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
like for me, this is kind of a big
Like,
problem because I hate.
there was only just the Mal page, but it didn't have anything else on it.
I hate that
Yeah.
so much, man.
Yeah,
Because
because it'd be
I-
like, it's like this manga synopsis, nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
It's like, why is this
Studio,
even
nothing,
here?
Nothing. It's
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
Why?
I mean, it's very possible that it's so like there is a lot of like really niche manga. It's just released in magazines and it's never actually made into books or anything, so you can't like buy it
Yes.
independently.
Yeah.
But for me, this is a weirdly big problem because I hate reading anything from the computer screen. So if I read manga, I want to own it as a book.
Lame.
That
Excuses.
significantly limits how much stuff you can get. Also, that's one of the reasons why you don't read that much manga now, because postage in Finland is fucking expensive, and the
Fucking
Finnish translations of
expensive?
manga tend to be really, really bad. Like I have a couple of the Finnish translated One Pieces, and some of it's like this sentence makes no sense.
Can imagine.
Okay. I'm gonna try to go back to the
Is it
main
this one?
focus of, but we kind of talked already about this, but one of the factors that I try to use a lot to decide what manga I'm gonna read is the art. Like for me, the art is like it's 95% of the reason why I decided to pick a new series to read.
It's fair enough.
So the question is, how for you guys, how much the art of a manga influences your decision on starting a new series?
Like 0.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
if I'm just randomly looking for something like historical seinen, like a different category, then the like cover art is important because that's what
Yeah.
that's like is this interesting to me. But I don't think obviously there are manga that look fucking phenomenal, but I don't think it's the actual art, like the quality of the art, that influences me into reading it.
For me, like I started reading like like stuff like Bleach and Initial D's, the first couple of mangas that I read. So like I never really
Mhm.
cared about what the art looked like too bad, because I mostly just like reading the old manga. So nothing. It doesn't really. I never really.
So you
came back
guys
to it. Unless
are
the art looks
saying
fucking ugly,
that-
then yeah.
So you guys are saying that I am a vain person because I only
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I
No,
honestly.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Like-
You're
kidding.
not a real manga fan. You don't appreciate
No,
the
yeah,
artwork.
no. The thing art is very important for me
Yeah.
because like as someone who occasionally likes to draw, is I
pretty
I
good
can
at it.
appreciate. Nah, I wish consumer, but thanks. But as someone who likes to draw a little bit, like I can understand like when I see like a very beautiful panel, like I think, wow, this artist like must have not wasted, but like have put a lot of time in the art here, because like I remember I was watching an interview, like sometimes the not the studio, the manga agency that Berserk was being published was pressuring Kentaro Miura to release more volumes like quickly, but he didn't want to, because like he didn't
Yeah.
want to release the art in a state that for him was terrible. So
Mm.
when I see a manga that has like a very beautiful art, it makes me appreciate it even more, because I'm like, wow, they are like pouring their souls into this spread page here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that, because there are certain manga that I've read because the art style looks great, but I don't think it that much influences in like, will I keep reading something if it doesn't look great? Like, I have read some of the original I think they're webtoons, the original One Punch stuff,
Yes.
and I don't like that is
I think
probably
it
the
looks so
quintessential
good.
example of it looks quote unquote terrible, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this actually kind of connects to the next question
Wait,
that I had. Sorry. You wanted to say something?
Like, I think for like what Cheese was saying there is kind of like why I love manga. I think on the one hand you can sort of view it as just this like series of like individual like art pieces. In that sense, then you can like weigh the art a lot more. But what I like about manga is the fact that like anyone can put a pen to a paper and like draw whatever story that they sort of want,
Yeah.
which is why I like to pay like less attention to the art, because I feel like the story for me can like supersede it. But that being said, like one of my favorite mangaka, Gamon Sakurai, who did like a Jin, and this new manga that's coming out, like 95% of why I like that manga is just purely based on his art. So that'll be like the photorealisticness of it, but also like how
Yes.
cinematic like it feels to read his work, like from panel to panel, everything like flows so well, like it gets you like really immersed in the story to the point like it feels like I'm watching like cinema. So in that case, like I would say the art is like the draw there, but I quite like how there's like a range. You can get the stuff like Berserk, which looks incredible, or the stuff like is One's original like One Punch Man, where it looks like awful, but I feel like that range is like so cool because you can get really unique stories like One Punch Man, or you can get stuff that are like just really like just out there and crazy to look at.
Yeah, and obviously with One Sensei stuff, it helps because he is an incredible character writer. But also, like, weirdly, in anime, I feel like it does bother me if the animation is bad, because, like, it's kind of weird because I don't care in manga, but when it's in motion, it just becomes difficult to watch.
It takes you
if it's
out
bad.
of the story in the moment.
Yeah, like, I was recently watching The Elusive Samurai, which, like, for the most part, like, 90% of the time, it looks fucking stunning. It's one of the best-looking series currently airing. And then at other times, it's not bad, but there are, like, these cheaper shots, which are like CGI, and it still doesn't look bad, but it's like the drop in quality is so noticeable that it's like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah,
it's the same feeling of when you're watching a movie and then there's a CGI scene that you can clearly see that.
Isn't that just like all Marvel movies at the moment?
Yeah.
But some of Marvel's recent CGI has been a bit rough.
Yeah, we don't talk about how CGI artists are being unpaid for their work.
Treated like slaves.
but it's noticeable.
Literally
like we start to notice that. But going back to something that she said like a few lines ago, like about webtoons and stuff like that. Of course, we know that the majority of people only considers manga series that are originally from Japan. But I wanted to ask your opinions on the mangas, or if we want to call it like that, that aren't originally from Japan. So manhwa, webtoons, and stuff like that. Do you guys read it as much as you guys do manga, or is it like a line that you guys don't mix the two together?
I haven't read any other like ones, honestly. I think the only one I bothered to read was like Viral Hit, How to Fight, because I watched the anime. That's the only one I wanted to watch. Like Solo Leveling does not appeal to me. Most of the ones that the big ones don't really appeal to me that much.
Like which
I'm
one?
asking the question.
If they write one about
because,
street racing, hell yeah, I'll watch that, read that. But like the other ones, not so much.
Because we're currently like having like a kind of a break in the situation. You know, shows like Tower of God,
so good. So good.
Solo Leveling, where we start getting like shows that aren't originally for Japan, and they're starting to, make a name for themselves. So I think that we are maybe going on a new direction with that. So,
I feel like we're in a really weird transitional period, because there was a time when you could, like, I read a couple of manhwa, like I tried to get into manhwa, but there was like, this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It felt like it was just trying. It felt like it was just trying to copy what manga was already doing.
Okay.
And I think nowadays we're starting to get more like unique stories out of other countries as well, which is like, I think it is constantly getting better, but it's not quite there. Like there are some amazing ones out there. Like
anime.
I've watched that some scenes of that one.
I read what is it called? It's Hitori no Shita in Japanese, and it is already also an anime, but from the second season onward, I can't find the anime in Japanese, and the Chinese voice lines go on for so much fucking longer than the characters are actually speaking that it's incredibly difficult to follow. So I instead read that, and it is really good.
I fucking love manhwa, bro. Manhwa's so fucking good. Manhwa is so fucking good. I kind of get where Cheese is saying a little bit. Like earlier, they were maybe trying to copy manga or anime. I just feel like it's just such a distinct like format.
Yeah, like nowadays it is, but originally it was like, which makes sense because obviously there is an established audience for manga. Yes, so obviously you want to engage that same audience.
it's just
And then
yeah, like
once you
the
have the
types of
audience, you can do
stories
your
they
own
have.
shit.
The whole webtoon format where it scrolls down, like everything is just so different, like compared to manga. Like the entire webtoon thing was just like created for like phone consumption, and they're just
Yeah.
honestly so easy to read. And one thing that made Soul Leveling so special when it came out, like the original manual, was just purely like the art. Like reading that story, like it was just so incredible. Like from like the way they use like digital art to have all these like
Yes.
you know, like how you see like the aura effects and stuff that they do in like JJK and stuff. Like they were having that in the webtoon. Like the fights were like on a complete other level from like anything I'd ever seen before. And like I know like when that came out, like it just exploded. So I'm sure like that's a part of it. But also like the different like genres, like gate stuff, you'll see a lot of regressions. They also have a lot of like very like the same way in anime and manga you have all this like Shinto Buddhism and like yokai-esque stories. They have
Yeah,
very
obviously
like
there's lots of like
Korean inspired stuff like that
yeah.
you'll see as well. Like
Cultural
cultivation
connotations and
stuff
things.
is rampant in manhwa, but I've never seen anything like it in like anime or mangas. So I think it's really, really different.
I feel like manhwa has now gotten to the point where it's like fully matured into its own thing, but it's weirdly, it's like what YouTubers do. You need to build that audience first, and then you
Yeah.
can start
Yeah.
doing the things that are like unique to you.
I fucking love manhwa.
Okay. Well, so I think we can all agree that the market is changing to
Yeah.
include
Yeah,
more of
absolutely.
manhwa, webtoons, and stuff like that. But there's also a big factor in like the whole manga industry that I don't know if you guys know that, but of course it's gonna sound stupid when I'm gonna say it, but the manga industry is generally it's think for Japanese people, you know?
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
of course the success like overseas is becoming like something that is it's never been seen before, you know, with you know, now we have Crunchyroll who is doing like the simulcast thing
Yeah.
with when the show comes out like 5 minutes after it came out in Japan or whatever. But but it's still like Japanese focused. So like
yeah,
I remember
absolutely.
like seeing an interview of, I don't remember which mangaka was that someone asked him, do you take in considerations your international fans or anything like that? And he said something along the lines of no, honestly, like I mainly write, I mainly write for, you know, for the Japanese people because I think that they're gonna relate a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that people like outside of Japan cannot relate to that. What I'm trying to say with this little introduction is that do you think that the market should start targeting more of an international fan audience? Like I don't know how, because I know of course that we have like the mangas that are being translated and everything. But for example, JoJo, I think the official translation of JoJo is only up to part 5. So there's no part 6, no part 7 yet. And you know, it's not like they are in a hurry to do that. Do you think that maybe it's that an untapped territory for, you know, some success, or do you guys think that's something that it's probably not going to change?
I mean, it's probably not going to change because, as you said, manga and anime is made by Japanese people for Japanese people, and Japan, I think, is still the most homogenous nation in the world. So it is natural for them to like only think about Japanese people predominantly as their audience. But at the same time, I feel like a good story doesn't need to be targeted to an international audience. A good story will open up to everyone, regardless of your nationality or your cultural background.
Yeah.
I agree with
But obviously,
Cheese.
there are some topics in manga that Western audiences, especially in Twitter, view very problematic.
But
Yes.
I feel like that stuff is also seen as problematic in Japan as well. Because like I feel
Yeah,
it's not like
it
anime has
is.
a stigma there. Like if you're like you wouldn't go around saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
I
but-
watch anime." Like if you're like an adult, would you? Like
Yeah,
But I think
I
it
think-
really depends. Like, sorry, chicken grilled cheese.
yeah, like I think it is like at the same time there has to be creative freedom for everyone. As long as
Yes.
you're doing drawings on paper, it doesn't fucking matter what you do. but it's still like I feel like it is wrong for Western audiences to go like, we need you to change what you are doing because we don't like it. Like that is in
Yeah.
general wrong for everything.
Yes.
As long as you're
Other
not
than-
hurting another person, you're free
I
to do what the fuck you want.
Yes. Like,
But it is
I think
I
that
don't
it's
see,
fine the way it is.
yeah, I don't see it
I see.
changing anytime soon. It will probably have some adjustments, and I think it was like a month ago, there was a big manga company that was announcing that they will start to try and implement DEI kind of stuff into their manga. But I think it wholly depends on, is it going to work in Japan? Because if the Japanese audience isn't buying it, I don't see it being published in a way that it would reach the West.
Yeah.
I see.
So from that point onwards, like I don't see it really changing in a way that it would incorporate the wider world. Because again, we've seen from stories like, I think Dragon Ball is probably the best example. Like
Yes.
everyone relates to Goku,
Yeah.
He's me.
and there was like no thought given to any kind of like, is this kid from like Canada or from Italy or Germany? Are they going to relate to this character? Nobody cared, and everyone still
Canadian
relates
Goku.
because he's an incredible character.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of the point where like good manga and good animes right now, that it doesn't matter who your target audience is, because if it's good, it will open up to everyone.
Yes.
I agree.
Well, this I think that was a very not to how can I say that, to tap my own shoulder, you know.
Pat yourself on the back.
This guy.
But I think that's an interesting, argument that I don't know. When I was doing these questions, like I got curious, like on how much the international fan base influenced the original guys from Japan, and it turns out they basically don't care. Like they're like, if you guys like it, we're cool. If you guys don't like it, we're cool as well.
You.
But here's the thing. I've noticed, like, especially since I did like the worst mistake of my life, which was downloading Twitter. I've noticed that a lot of hate that comes from everything related to a show always are from the international fan base. Like normally, Japanese fans, they tend, even like let's go back to I know that is 2 episodes in a row that we talk about Attack on Titan, but let's go back to Attack on Titan.
The Attack
Like,
on
I
Titan
remember-
podcast.
I
boy.
remember reading online that the Japanese fans, they loved the ending of Attack on Titan. It was just the love. They like it, but it was mostly like the overseas fans that were like, oh, I don't know, I don't like it. Blah. Here, but basically, what I'm trying to say with that is leading to my final question. Is the ending of a series, of course, is something very important for everyone, for the mangaka, the audience, the fan base, the publishers, everything. But for you personally, does the ending of a series affect your opinion on the whole series? So let's say you have like an amazing manga that you're reading. It's basically perfect, but then the ending is completely trash.
Naruto.
Does it ruin the experience for you, or like you still get right? You take the bad with you take the good with the bad, basically.
In a way, like if it's really bad, like Game of Thrones bad, like that ruined Game of Thrones for me.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
ending
that's
is just
true.
such garbage. But I haven't seen such discrepancy in manga. Admittedly, I haven't watched all of Naruto yet, and Consumer keeps bringing up Naruto's
I
ending.
love Naruto.
So
yeah.
maybe, but
don't
I haven't
like
really
it
seen anything that bad that it would have ruined the whole thing for me. But I can see how it can happen, because we have seen that happen with Game of Thrones.
Attack on Titan was
Yeah.
literally the example for me. I think more often than not it won't. Like that's what happened with me with Naruto. Like I was honestly almost had Naruto as a 10. Like I thought it was like pretty flawless up until the final arc. And I had my issues with the final arc, which is why I dropped it down. But overall, I still really enjoy it, and still think like 80% of that story is like one of the best pieces of shonen I've ever seen. But like for Attack on Titan, that ending was just so bad that just the idea of even watching or thinking about that show like angers me.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like the
I
ending to me
understand
just
that.
made the rest of the time I'd invested, the emotions I'd felt, feel like a waste of time.
Yes.
So depends.
Like like she said, normally I tried not to but it's almost inevitable, like because let's say the ending. I would dare to say that it's probably the most important part of every story. How you decide to end something that you've crafted for a lot of years, and there's always this question. Yeah, let's say that I didn't like the ending of something. Would I been able to do something better than the author if I wanted to?
Oh, absolutely
Like,
not.
yeah, exactly. Like, so it's this strange limbo for me in which let's say like I remember when I finished reading the manga of Attack on Titan, I got like I spent like 2 weeks trying to think, because I didn't like the ending, but I couldn't come up with a better ending, like in a way
Yeah.
that like I was like what would fit this kind of story. And I think that it's, I don't know, and the endings are hard. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you manage to land something very solid, very good, and sometimes you don't. So
I mean, that's the reason why isekais never fucking end, isn't it?
No.
what about you, Speedy?
See, I can't just like, oh, okay, it's ended. Yeah, the end's alright, but go away.
The only ending
I'm
Speedy
just like,
cares
oh,
about
it's
is a
ended.
happy ending. Wink, wink.
I feel like it is
no.
also kind of a spectrum because again, if it is terrible like Game of Thrones, I could write a better ending than that because a fucking
Yeah, if
5-year-old
if
would write
it
a
was
better.
like a genuinely terrible ending with that just didn't fit, I'll be like, yeah, that was pretty shit, but like I can't change it. What's the point?
What's the point? The point is they wasted your goddamn time.
I mean,
even
I
if-
think about it like, oh yeah, I enjoyed the series. The ending was a bit shit, but hey ho, it's
Yeah.
alright.
Damn.
I don't
Eva is
care.
actually kind of a good example of this because obviously the original Eva ending is fucking garbage,
Yes.
and then the movies actually came out and we got the
Omedetou.
proper ending for it.
Yeah, but if you had to do like 4 movies to kind of
Yeah.
save an ending, it's
Yeah.
that's questionable on its
I don't
own.
think the ending
I
is
mean,
that
I mean,
bad.
obviously, the Eva is a bit
No,
different
no.
because basically they ran out of funding because they were just told you need to end it now, which is
Yeah.
obviously a bit different than just willingly writing a bad end. I don't think anyone willingly writes anything bad.
Just tell
Do you
her to
guys think
Hajime.
it's
Bean.
better when a series ends first, like before its time? So let's say like Eva, it didn't have enough funds to finish it, so they decided to do like that whole very strange ending, or is it worse when the story should have ended on a specific point, but like the publishers are like, no, we need to keep pumping.
It's
We need to
worse
keep
when it
pumping,
should have
it's
ended
worse.
already because we see that with so much stuff that it should have ended ages ago, and then corporations just go, we need to make more money off of this IP.
Yeah.
Mm,
Fast and
Because I have
Furious.
like an example, like a very recent example of a manga that I was reading. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about it. It's called Boys Abyss.
I've
It's
heard
basically
of it,
like
Yeah,
it's.
I think
You talked
recommended
about it
It's
at one
this-
point, didn't you?
I did.
I think you
yeah.
did.
Oh, but well. Anyway, I like recently Boys Abyss finished, and my honest opinion that manga should have ended 50 chapters ago. Like 50 chapters ago, it would have been like perfect ending, perfect, like no joking, perfect ending. But they started to stretch the stories to the point where it got like it got very boring that I was just checking in to see if it's gonna end. Like
Okay,
every week I
yeah.
was like, okay, let's see if it. And then when it ended, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, of course, but it ended in such a like it for the time that they've been stretching the whole thing. You would have think that maybe the ending is gonna be something, you know, they're building up to something. No, it basically ends with a very what's the how do you call like an ending that it's not clear or
Cliffhanger?
Ambiguous.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
That's the word. A very like you don't understand like if if this happened
it's
or
like
that
an
happened.
Inception ending.
Yeah, but a bad Inception ending, because Inception, it's a good example of how to do that. You do like the ambiguous thing, and you know maybe it happened, maybe it didn't.
Yeah.
But then it basically like it's not like they built up to that moment. It's basically the last chapter is basically this thing happened or it didn't happen. Is up to
Yeah.
you to figure it out. But yeah, that now so I can pass the mic to my co-host. I finished my questions, so Consumer, if you wanna.
So to end off on, I wanted to do a little segment because Cheese always complains that he can't read manga because it has to be physical. So I wanted all of us
I'm
to
like
give
that
one
too.
reason why cheese should do manga. Although I keep saying cheese, it's more so just the people who don't read manga. What is one reason that everyone should read manga?
I mean, there's such good stories out there. You just need to go. Like you would be doing a kind of a disservice in a certain way to yourself to be limiting yourself. That's the word. Limiting
You
yourself
would be limiting
to only
yourself,
wait
cheese.
for anime, because
I mean,
here,
go
like
on, anime.
now speaking purely on video editing and YouTube, not even like story wise, because that's another point. The time that sometimes we spend like watching an anime is the time that we could have read 3 mangas and do 3 videos about them.
Exactly.
So it is like a gold territory in a certain way for us YouTubers.
Yeah, like I do get like I love manga and there's so much good manga, but I read so much shit on the computer screen for everything else that I just don't want to do.
You
that
just
as
need
a
to look
hobby.
at pictures, bro.
But that's why I want to have it as a physical copy, because A, I'm old and I like physical books, and
Me
B,
too, I
like
physical books.
I read so much shit for like uni. I do so much research for like YouTube videos and stuff that I'd rather, if I want to read something, I either listen to an audiobook or I want to have it as a physical copy.
What
where
if
I
we
can
gave
just,
you
like,
an audio
lay in bed
manga?
and
What if I just
relax?
narrated every manga for you from now on? I'll just send you a
That
voice
would work.
recording you can play it.
That would work.
I can do the voice. If you decide to read My Hero, I can do Midoriya's voice.
You're doing the Deku voice.
Do the Deku voice.
Also, like slightly going back to Anime's thing about like endings on manga, because I actually came up with a thought, because there's one manga I really like that is never going to have an ending, and the author has said that it will never have an ending, and that's Natsume's Book of Friends.
Oh.
But I think that's in a very clever way, because obviously you are the author, like you create, like we've talked about the whole thing, like you pour yourself into that story.
Yes.
And then like the way she writes it, it's like it's in very self-contained little segments. So technically it doesn't need like a grand finale ending, and I feel like that is also a type of story
Yes.
that's just not explored enough. Like if you don't want to end something, you don't necessarily need to write a big ending for it. You just need to write it in a way that where there's a satisfactory conclusion,
Yes.
but it doesn't need to be an ending per se.
I see.
But what I am hearing though from this is that there are certain series where you will gladly waiver your rule.
Yeah, if it's really good, I will waver from it, but I feel like I don't get the same enjoyment out of it, and I feel like that's a disservice to the mangaka and the story that I'm reading.
Cheese.
Okay.
By the way, have you ever heard about Kindle?
Yes.
Because I think that would be like a nice alternative. Like you could like the Kindle, because it looks very much like a
Yeah,
page
I
of
have a
manga,
friend
so-
who has like a really fancy Kindle, and it is quite nice. It's just the actual devices are a bit pricey at this point.
Yeah, I gave one to my sister for her birthday, and I was surprised on how realistic that thing looks.
Yeah.
Like, compared to.
Like, what I will also say is I exclusively read manga on my phone. So I feel like especially the
Same here.
choice of having
I
it on
kinda
your
do a
phone
bit of
and
everything.
portable makes
My
the
phone screen is
reading
cracked.
so much easier. Like,
Mine too.
I read manga on my phone, physical, and on my computer.
what
Also, now,
computer doesn't really
currently-
make
I do
sense to me
everything.
though.
It's
Right
mostly
now,
because
breaking-
I read the manga before I make the script for the video. So I do, if I'm reading a manga, I'll read it on my computer before I do the script. So I just remember
So you
everything.
sat at your desk like this, like, oh, click, click, click. What a fascinating
I'm more
series.
like-
That's so
I'm more-
bizarre to me, bro.
I'm more like this, but like that back here, like that.
Just click, click, click.
Yeah.
Nah, see, the moment, especially if you're an Android, you can get apps which will just let you like download multiple repositories,
Yes.
right? Once you can get it on your phone, you can take it about with you. So like, if you find you just have like a spare couple of minutes, rather than scrolling on Twitter, you know what you could be doing? Reading a
Yes.
manga.
Speaking of scrolling on Twitter, I'm breaking the fourth wall now. Speedy, why the fuck are you sharing posts on Twitter while we're recording a podcast episode?
This guy.
I got bored. I'm kind of like
Bro.
half tired. I'm quite tired.
This
at the moment.
guy.
I'm literally watching Who Killed Captain Alex at the moment. So
Who killed Captain Alex?
Oh my
You are
God.
the captain now. I'm the captain now. But yeah, I do
That's the
also
wrong
just
movie.
think that the portability of manga and being able to read it wherever you want
Yes.
to is just ultimately what makes it superior to anime for me, because having 20 minutes, an hour, or whatever it is, dedicated time in my day to watch something is very hard to find. Whereas a couple minutes here and there, I can do, and as that compounds over a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, you can like have read through quite a lot.
Yeah. Also, like there is the whole thing of like anime is quote unquote the brain off mode of enjoying the same stories because everything is spoken for you, everything is animated for you. You
Yeah.
don't need to think like
Yes.
what this would look like. Like I do get that, but I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
just old fashioned and I like books.
Oh yeah.
I have a fucking collection of Shakespeare stuff as a physical
Ooh.
copy, like most of
This
Shakespeare's
guy.
things.
So did I.
Because I needed-
it was
I
called
needed, like, I had
National
the-
Fives exams, bro.
I had
read it for
like
school.
3 courses on like theater and specifically on Shakespeare, so I was like, I'm not fucking reading this online, so I actually bought a collection of Shakespeare
I
stuff. It's a
stole a
really nice
copy
book
of
as well.
Animal Farm from my school.
You stole one or you have one?
Permanently borrowed it.
Permanently borrowed. That's how I like to hear it.
Yeah.
Bro, you guys are lucky. My school didn't have a library.
My university has a massive library, but they're also really anal about you returning everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys want to add something else to this whole
Any
episode?
final
or-
questions? Open the floor to everyone.
But since there has been a background cat, I'm gonna poke it so everyone can see it.
Oh, your cat looks like
Yeah.
he slumbered.
Cat cameo, let's go.
Yes, the cat has
That's the
stolen
money
my
shot.
armchair. There he is. I don't know what the other one's doing, but there's like a meowing sounding from the other room.
Wow.
Well, I guess.
Well,
Background cat has
then I
been
guess
sleeping
that-
and snoring.
Well, then I guess that's it for this episode. Thanks
Yep.
everyone for watching it, and thanks again, guys, for all your amazing opinions and your patience with my questions. And
Good question.
well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, a comment, think about subscribing to the podcast. And well, if you guys are cool with that, we see you all next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Cancel
Oh,
it.
Queen Wave.
It's off
Yeah, Queen
camera.
Wave.
Bye.
I don't know.
Bye bye.